Hey everyone, welcome to Logan Smosh Pig. Glad to have you here. Do me a favor and please subscribe if you haven't already. Yes indeed, time for another rock and read. Today we'll read chapter 39 of It's So Easy and Otherwise by Duff McKagan. Here we go. As the weeks leading up to the bike race passed, I cleaned up my house and bought real food at the grocery store. I had to throw out a lot of my clothing and bedding. My broken body had left bloodstains everywhere. Truck, my former bodyguard, came over one day to check in on me, and I was in the middle of doing laundry. He opened the dryer. "You know, you have to clean out the lint trap, right?" he said. I smiled. I knew that by now. I appreciated the fact that he was trying to look out for me. I went to bed early every night and woke up at the crack of dawn. I read Gavin Dawes' Prisoners of the Japanese and pondered my solitary life. Though it was only 2 months earlier that I had landed on this deserted isle, it now seemed like a whole other lifetime ago. I was alone for the first time in a long time, except for Chloe padding around the house, and the isolation felt wholesome. It was not the type of isolation I had felt when my band was on top of the world, and I was in a fishbowl, gasping for a breath of fresh air, and praying for a friend to pick up the phone. "Please pick up, Mom. God, I hope you're home. Please pick up Andy, or Eddie, or Brian, or Matt, or Joan, or Claudia, or Carol, or John." That kind of isolation made it seem logical for me to give the keys to my house to a dealer so that someone would be there when I came home on breaks from the tour. That kind of isolation made me invite entire clubs of derelict partiers up to my house at closing time. No, I was alone by choice now, and I was set on starting a new life for myself based on solid ground. I was in uncharted territory and had no idea how to do what I wanted to do. I trained hard, drank plenty of water, and watched the booze weight fall off me. I lost 50 pounds in the first 3 months following my acute pancreatitis. I prayed to my training hills and found deep faith in the physical suffering of the present and the mental suffering of the past. The race had come to represent much more than a 19-mile bike race. Making it through the race would mean I had successfully navigated the first stage of a totally different course too. One out of a previous life and into another. One out of despair and into hope. Preparing for the race at Big Bear was a fight for survival and sanity and maybe, just maybe, a chance to overcome. The 19-mile markers of the race would collectively represent the first mile marker in my sobriety. Meanwhile, Guns N' Roses was trying to happen. If the band was going to work for me, it was going to have to work with me sober. We booked a rehearsal place. The first day, Axl didn't show up. The next, Slash failed to show. After a week of that, I stopped going down there, unless one of them called me to say he was actually walking out of his house. Slash was beyond the heavy nodding, but he was still using heroin. Still, that posed no immediate problem for me. When I saw him ducking out to fix, I wasn't thinking, "Oh, that looks good." Axl had demonstrated a lot of compassion over the years, and especially in the wake of my pancreatitis. That's what also drove me crazy. He knew that I'd changed my life around, that I got up early and went to bed early, that I was doing whatever I could to stay alive. And yet, right at this point, he made a big switch and became a night person. One night, he showed up at the rehearsal studio as I was packing up to leave. "Sorry, man, but I have to go," I told him. "What do you mean you have to go?" "Dude, it's 4 a.m., and I've been here all night. I've got to get home. That man? What made dealing with Axel maddening was the fact that he and I were also in agreement on a lot of things. One of the points of contention between Slash and Axel was a batch of songs Slash brought to the table. Axel thought it was Southern rock, not Guns N' Roses material. I backed Axel. Slash and I started trying to write new stuff with other guitar players added to the mix. This was the first time we had written without Izzy to bounce ideas off of and to bring ideas of his own. Zakk Wylde, who played with Ozzy Osbourne on and off for years, brought energy and enthusiasm that was lacking within Guns N' Roses at the time. "We can build on the legacy," he said excitedly. "We can make something great. Listen to this." He saw a piano against the wall and sat down and elegantly played it. I had no idea he could play piano at all, much less like this. We recorded a few demos with him, but nothing panned out. Then Axel wanted to bring in a guy named Paul Huge. "You want to bring in your old buddy from Indiana?" Slash said incredulously. "Look, he'll just jam with us and maybe it'll work out," Axel said. "No," both Slash and I said. "Yes," said Axel. This wasn't some wedding band you could just bring friends into. If I wasn't going to bend for the sake of one of my best friends, Slash and his Southern rock songs, I sure as hell wasn't going to let a stranger come in and around with Guns N' Roses. "Fine," Axel said. "How's this? You guys try him out on your own. Give him a few days." We let him come in, gave him a couple days. It was hopeless. We told Axel. "You guys," he said. That was pretty much it for Slash. After that, he concentrated on his solo band, Slash's Snake Pit, and eventually released a record under that name early the next year. I started to get calls from our manager, Doug, and from Ed Rosenblatt, the president of Geffen Records, pleading with me to somehow get the band back into the studio. I suppose in their eyes, they finally had a sober and clear-headed member of the band who could somehow pull everything together, but I was only just sober, and if they knew how fragile my sobriety was at that point, maybe they would never have called. I still didn't know if I would stay sober for the rest of my life. Sure, I could say I was done, but I still had urges. The urge to grab a bottle of vodka and take the edge off when these mother-ers called me, for instance. God damn it! I can't have a glass of wine to take the edge off. Maybe urge is the wrong word. Perhaps it was more a sense of disappointment. Disappointment that I had used up all my chits. Really? Never? Then again, maybe they would have called even if they thought it might imperil my sobriety. If anyone entrusted with the care of the band had actually given a about the health of any of us, Guns N' Roses would have been pulled off the road and put into therapy years ago. This was not lost on me as the phone calls became more and more frequent. These trusted professionals were after the gold, and I was only a means to an end. They could all go themselves. "Hey, band manager, why don't you stick your neck out and actually manage the band instead of worrying if you'll get fired for saying what needs to be said? There will be no band to manage if you keep on being and passing the buck." If I was going to save my band, it would be for us, not for them. We had already made a lot of money, and I had reached the seemingly unattainable dream of making a living from playing music. But for the people calling me now, their lone concern was making even more money. Regardless of how. Money hadn't been my motivation to get into music in the first place. And money wasn't now going to motivate me to get dragged back into a situation that I hadn't yet figured out how to fix, or even whether I wanted to try to fix. Besides, I had a bike race to ride. Well, that brings chapter 39 to a close. Let me know what you thought of this chapter in the comments below. That does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Till then, rock on.